Hi, Tom. I have friends and family members who have been in therapy for more than 5 years. They don't have a diagnosed condition and aren't on any medication. I'm sure the therapy has helped them, but from the outside, they seem to have hit a plateau with their progress. Could you please speak to the compatibility of Vedic meditation with talk therapy and the advantages Vedic meditation might have over talk therapy in terms of moving someone forward?
I think talk therapy is a very good thing, but it needs to reach its crescendo. There's a certain point, the word therapy means literally doing something, doing a thing. And if it turns out that after months and then year and then multiple years and then decades and multiple decades, there seems to be the ever repeating known, there is evolution happening therapeutically, but it is so slow. And the crescendo hasn't been reached. The crescendo means the high point of maximum impact of the therapy needs to be reached earlier. And so then when we practice Vedic meditation, what it does is it speeds up the therapeutic process. And so a meditator who's practicing twice every day should begin to see more traction and more rapid movement toward the therapeutic goals. And very often, because especially in the West, and especially the West of the West, the westernmost part of the West, there is a tremendous idea that absolutely everybody needs to be in therapy at least once a week, constantly. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. What we've done as a civilization is we've downgraded the capacity of our elders of society to be wise people, and we consider our elders just to be nuisances who are out of date and aging, and their health is falling apart. And we're most constantly trying to figure out with what we're going to do with them rather than how we're going to spend more time with them to get their wisdom, because they don't seem to have any. This is one of the faults of an age of ignorance, is the loss of the function of elder people actually being wiser than younger people. It turns out that younger people in many cases are wiser than their elders, and this becomes problematic. And so when that problem creeps up, then an entire industry of people who are supposed to be wiser than their clients, and that's the therapeutic community. And in many cases, it's true. Their training provides them with the capacity to provide you with perspective. And the pattern is one goes to the therapist with content, and the therapist gives context for the content. That's what therapy is all about. I can't believe she said that, or I can't believe he did this, or I can't believe that once again I'm feeling anxious over this. That's content. And then the therapist is supposed to say, now, we've been here before, and what we've seen in the past is, or why don't you look at it from this perspective, and so on and so forth. There is the building of, we have to put some fat on this thing. There's content is skeletal, but it needs fat added to it, fat and muscle added to it. And that's the perspective gained by placing it contextually, adding time to it. What is the consequence of the content you've brought me in a 10-year context? Let's look at it, and maybe if we don't want to look at 10 years because that may be too much, how about 10 weeks? How about 10 months or whatever? So to contextualize and to achieve perspective through contextualizing is the therapist's job. Most therapists would never even be able to use this language because they've never learned it. This is Vedic psychology I'm talking here. And all therapists use this, whether or not they know and whether or not they can express it. One of the things that almost all clients of therapists fail to do, and therapists are also guilty because they don't encourage their clients to do it, is to ask the question, what are the therapeutic goals? And where's this leading? It's not just we're going to get together either electronically or in person and go over the most recent content of my mind, and you're going to make me feel better. What is the therapeutic goal? And if there's not able to be expressed some therapeutic goals, then that kind of therapy is in fact just the ever-repeating known. When both of you don't know what the therapeutic goal is, one of you is not needed. And that's the therapist. We need to have a therapist who actually understands what a therapeutic goal is, and we need to ask that question of our therapist. It's a fair question to ask. If they can't answer what the therapeutic goal is, or if they go, I don't know, or if they say, what do you think? That's not a fair question. If a child is learning how to read and the child says to the teacher, what's the goal of me learning to read? And the teacher says, I don't know, what do you think? Then you fire that teacher. So we shouldn't have hesitancy in firing a therapist who, beyond giving us a sounding board and making us feel good because we're able to hear ourselves talking, doesn't know what the therapeutic goal is. And so let's not be afraid of the word self-sufficiency or self-reliance. This should be a major therapeutic goal, which is the major therapeutic goal is that your therapist either retires the therapeutic process or you retire the therapeutic process. And if there's not a goal in sight and a timeline that a therapist can speak to, then really the two of you are engaged in mutual self-deception. So with the practice of Vedic meditation, one's capacity to come more rapidly to these conclusions should be there. A conclusion that could have been arrived at, say, in 5 years, should be able to be arrived at in 5 months with practice. What's the conclusion? I don't mean that you necessarily retire your therapist in 5 months, but that you're conclusive within 5 months about what's going on here. There are patterns that I can see. I arrive with content. My therapist gives me context. What am I learning? I should be learning how to create context for my content rather than exporting that responsibility to somebody else. If constantly I have to export the responsibility of giving context to my content to another human being, but I'm not learning what it is that human being is doing in creating the context, then I'm in a negative learning environment. I'm not learning anything. If I'm not learning anything, I need to find a teacher who's actually interested in me. A therapist in that regard is a teacher, even though they might shy away from that title, but a therapist is a teacher. It's supposed to be teaching you what the process is that the therapist is engaging in and giving you a degree of greater settled mind by providing context for content. And if the therapist is afraid of doing that or not doing that, then all they're really interested in is keeping you as a client because you're helping to pay for their children's dental work or the next swimming pool or something. So therapeutic goals are very important to ask about, to understand, to engage in, and to strive towards. There needs to be a therapeutic goal. And basically what it is self-reliance, self-sufficiency. That's the ultimate therapeutic goal.